Can you think of something that I used to do back in the day that I don't do much anymore and it matters to you now? Like, I guess what I'm asking is, does maturity matter over time?
Maturity 100% absolutely matters.
So
All the time.
I like it. Some people don't think maturity matters and they refuse to grow up, and you have two different people on two different places on two different planets.
Right.
And that's what we're going to talk about today. In the living room, welcome back. You've missed your part.
Welcome back.
She's Louise.
I was listening to you.
Where we always have real conversations for every space of life that you're living in. I think this thought of growing up and growing together is really key with like for any binding relationship, any relationship worth having is growing together.
Right. So even if we're talking about friendships, even if we're talking about dating relationships, married relationships, I think it's really important to realize that you do have to grow together, but you also have to grow up on your own.
Yeah. I think that's something that you and I don't know that I had a lot of
Growing up to do?
No, I had a lot of growing up to do. A lot. No, but I don't think I had a lot of direct influence or direct, I guess the word is accountability. Someone like just directing me.
We had none.
Like the first 7 years, maybe.
Right.
Like someone just in my life saying, bro, why are you still doing that? Why are you still there? And what I didn't realize is that it was the lack of development and growth, like the pace of us growing together, really was made things a little bit stressful, because I think what happened is like there were spurts where you grew and I didn't, and I grew and then you didn't.
Right.
So let's just talk about really just to be kind of like ridiculous, maybe not ridiculous, but to be like in the most plain thing. Like, what's something now that's really important to you still that I've gotten better at that I didn't used to do good when I was younger?
Something super silly, but it matters to me, which is taking out the trash can for the trash man outside of the house.
It matters.
For me, it matters so much. I know it's dumb, but I just think it's embarrassing when your trash is overflowing and you miss the trash man. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
And when we first got married, you would just forget, or you would just say, "Oh, I'll do it next time," and it was never a big deal to you. And it communicated so many deep things to me, which honestly it probably wasn't that deep. But it really just communicated to me, like, I really don't care what you think. I'm going to do it whenever I want.
Yeah.
And now you're so consistent, and makes my life happy.
Well, it was never, honestly, it was never, I don't care what you want. That was never really my thought, but it was, maybe it was important to me because I just didn't see the value of the consistency. And I think that's really something that should matter at the core of something, right? Like seeing someone's value system, someone's framework with how they make decisions is a big deal. And I think that said a lot about me and my sense of responsibility, my sense of cleanliness, my sense of really just how I was okay living my life. That was concerning, right? And I think levels of maturity, levels of consistency, levels of responsibility should really be metrics that you look at. I think we look at the wrong things early in any relationship. Again, this is not just in the context of romantic relationship and marriage and dating. I think attraction hits us in every aspect of relationships, right? Like, someone can be very attractive as a friend, right? Like, man, they're dope. They're fun to be around. They're the life of the party. They're hilarious. They're thoughtful. They're spontaneous, whatever it is, right? And that's cool. But once you get past the superficial layer of attraction, then there's this other layer of compatibility.
Yeah.
And are we on the same page? Are we in the same flow of thought?
Yeah. Do we value the same things?
Right.
Yeah. And I've seen that in a couple of even my friendships or my friends with their friends. It's like they used to be best friends in high school. And maybe now they're moms, and their values, one of the value systems isn't the same as the other one. Yeah. And you still like them as a person because you've known them since high school, but you can no longer relate to them. Yeah. So then you kind of drift apart,
Yeah. The thing that I'm thinking about, which is like the big statement that you hear a lot from the Bible, when choosing relationships, specifically romantic or marriage, but I think it's applicable to any relationship, is don't be unequally yoked or don't be disproportionately connected to somebody,
Okay.
right? The picture that it paints is the thought of a yoke is, right, like two oxen, and you would never put an immature oxen like a young
baby.
calf, right, with a big bull,
Right.
because they're going to end up hurting each other. One's going to drag the other. One's going to be a liability. You know, the bull's going to have to carry all the weight.
all the
So
work.
eventually he's going to get hurt and overrun and overwhelmed, and the baby's just going to get dragged and he's going to get injured and overwhelmed. And I think a lot of times we really don't take into consideration those levels that help us know how to be yoked well.
Yeah, that's a good point. I was actually counseling recently this girl who really, they were engaged to be married and she was ready to marry this person. But as life continued, she realized that she was the one pulling him, like go to church, you know, like get closer to Jesus. And little things where she felt like, where she confronted him like about pornography, and he was like, well, I don't see anything wrong with it. And that's something that really shocked her. She's like, well, as a Christian, I really believe that we should have the same value system. So she actually went to his family and pretty much ratted him out, hoping to have the family support so they could get back on track, which was surprising to me that she told me that his mother told him, well, he's a man and you should just let him do what he does.
Wow.
And she was so shocked that they didn't, you know, they weren't on the same page of values, that she was like, I can't do this, which I was super proud of her. You know, she ended the relationship, but I do think that having the same value system in your spiritual walk has everything to do with like, okay, am I supposed to be with this person or not?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. If I can dial it out and dial it back a little bit, I think first of all that's really admirable, and that's a big deal.
It is.
You know, a lot of people aren't willing to walk away.
Exactly.
Right? They'll see a bad investment, and what's crazy is that we all see it right away. 9 out of 10 of us see it. Now you have the 10%, the marginal, that are just like, man, I'm clueless, and God help those people, right? But most of us see the danger, see the red flags, we see the warning signs, but for some reason we think we're the exception.
Yeah. Or you want so much that person to fit in your life and to fit, you know, your dreams. And like you said, the exception. Like if I just keep working at it, I know that's a lot of hope, especially when it comes to women.
Yeah. I think, I mean, you took it to a really important place, right? Which your faith, the values of your faith, the doctrines of your life, right? And when I say doctrines, what I mean is the governing rules, right? The governing principles of your life, not just theological doctrines, but professional doctrines, right? Yeah. Professionally, this is how I govern my life. Financial doctrines, this is how I govern my life. Familial doctrines, these are the principles that govern my life. Recreational doctrines, right? Like I can't imagine that you and I would get along well. Now this might be a little scandalous. Here we go. I can't imagine that you and I would get along well if you and I didn't have the the health doctrines that we have, the governing principles of, man, we want to work out, we want to take care of our bodies, we want to be fit for life, not fit for vanity, but fit for life, fit for parenting,
fit for function, and
exactly, fit for function. I think for me, you know, the way I think about it is fit for God to use our lives for His purposes and all of that. But I think that it never occurred to me until literally right now, like, you know, you and I really value that. You know, we put our effort into it, and subsequently we have, you know, and I really don't want this to sound disrespectful, but you mentioned it before we even hit record, and I'm the one that's all hypocritical right now because I said, "Oh, that's scandalous," but I'll bring it up.
And you said, "No, we're not going to talk about that."
I did say that, but I'm a big fat hypocrite. So here you go. No, but I think it's important to say. I think that if you were not disciplined to keep yourself fit, body, mind, and spirit, and you just let yourself go in a way that was completely undisciplined, in a way that was
either portion of
Right, body, mind, or spirit.
in either one.
Because everyone's going to think like, oh, okay,
Right.
Cruz is saying that if she gained 70 pounds, he would
Right.
leave.
Right.
Not necessarily. I think we'd have to have some conversations. And I know that I hope that doesn't sound
And the same
any
for
type of
me.
way.
I would have conversations with you.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have a conversation with like this. I think this is valuable. This is really valuable because the conversations we would have would be being yoked from the same place, not hey, you're ugly.
Oh yeah.
Right? Yeah, I think the conversations would be like, hey, why aren't you you respecting yourself?
Yeah, like what's going on?
Hey, yeah, what's happening with your
There
body?
has to be
What's happening
something with your mind. Yeah,
right,
like
what's happening with your
going
mind and
on?
with your spirit?
Yeah, there's a different root, like a root cause, and I'm not like we're not that superficial.
You might be.
You
That's
might
why.
be.
That's why I stay buff. Just kidding. Ish,
I do
buff
like your
ish.
shoulders.
I'll take.
Shimmy.
I'll give you a shimmy, girl. You made me blush. I'll take it.
But I do believe value systems are super important to talk about. And I think there's a lot of people, even now, you might be dating. These are the questions that are not asked in dating. Like, what do you value in your life?
real.
It has everything to do, like,
For
is she
real.
cute? Is he cute?
For real.
Does he make me have butterflies? Like,
Right.
does
How does it
she
make me
smell?
feel?
Does she smell nice?
Yeah.
Does she have straight teeth? Like, we're very superficial
I think guys look at
creatures.
something else other than straight teeth.
Well, I mean, I was just saying, but
Although you know what teeth? Nah.
teeth matter.
Do they?
Teeth totally matter. I don't know if I could just stare at you if your teeth were jacked. Like I would send you to the dentist.
Dude, we're all so superficial right now. This episode, y'all don't just harshly. Welcome to the living room. We're having a real conversation right now. You hit me with the Invisalign?
Yeah. Well, I think it would better you too.
Yes. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that if you're dating, I think you should really have conversations when it comes to your values.
Yeah,
because you
again,
should have values before you go there.
I don't want to pigeonhole it just to dating, right? Because like friendships.
Yeah,
tell me who your
friendships,
friends are.
you're
Tell
right.
me who your friends are, and I'll tell you your future.
You're right.
Right. That's what they say that you become the average of your 5 friends, right? Like you show me your top 5 closest people, friends, and I'm going to show you what your life is going to look like. And so I think investigating, being aware, and measuring and assessing, man, do we line up?
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to spend time here. I'm going to invest time here. And not only that, I'm going to allow influence into my life. So what am I allowing into my life? And I think a lot of times we don't really think about that. Yeah, we think about the initial knee jerk, man, this is funny, this is fun, this is vibey, blah, blah, blah. And we really don't think about the long-term impact that their presence, that their personalities, that their decision-making brings into our lives. I think about this, right? Like I think about times in my life when I allowed myself to become someone I shouldn't have been, right? It's because I wasn't hard on the principles. I wasn't committed on the values, and I just kind of drifted, right? And I've said this before, but whenever you just drift, right? Whenever you're just floating down a river, you don't drift into intentional places.
Right.
Right? You don't, and I'll say it this way, you don't drift into righteousness, and you don't drift into purpose, and you don't drift into destiny. You don't drift into higher level living. You actually drift into places where things just become shallow,
Comfortable.
Shallow, comfortable. Think about like a river, right? Usually the things that get pulled by the current are trashy, or anything substantial is not drifting. Right? Rocks are settled, things that are substantial are settled. And so I think whenever we don't recognize what we're connecting ourselves to, right? So I use the Bible terminology of what you're yoked to, right? But I think what you're connected to, what you're attached to, what you're associated with, it really benefits us, and it's really worth our time to go and ask ourselves, what is that bringing into my life, and what's it pulling out of me?
Yeah, that's so good. A lot of times, I think we don't realize when things are being pulled out. A lot of times we do see, okay, this person's influencing this or whatever, but we really aren't self-aware of like, man, when I'm with this person, I'm so drained. Or when I'm with this person, I don't feel good. Or we just, oh man, maybe it was just a bad day. Maybe it was just a bad night. But no, I think as believers in Jesus, we should really lean into the Holy Spirit. And it's like, okay, what are these senses? What am I feeling? And really act on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's powerful. I think relying on the supernatural, relying on the divine, but at the same time having the practical, right? Looking at the things that are very just first glance, that are very obvious. And so if you're wondering what should I be looking at? Well, then I think you look at the results of their life. Look at the patterns of their life. Look at the outcomes and be honest with yourself about them, because those things really, really, really matter. Now, it sounds like, we're saying some things that are super obvious, super fundamental, but I can't tell you how many times we talk to people who say, man, I didn't know. I didn't know it. Man, we've been married for 12 years, and now he doesn't want to lead our family, or she doesn't want to care for our kids. And it's like, man, if you had taken an inventory early on, you would have seen this.
Yeah, and a lot of times you say you didn't know, but I think a lot of times
You didn't want to know.
Yeah,
Is what it is.
and that's the harsh truth.
I don't want to know.
Yeah,
What you're
because
doing.
you pretty much, you blind yourself. You're already married to this person. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
So I think that's, if you're already married to this person and you're like, great, I've lost all hope. You haven't lost all hope. I believe that, as a praying woman, I believe prayer works. And I believe that if you're in this situation where like, man, I don't know how to help my husband, you ask the Lord to help them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times they're not going to get it from you, or they're not going to hear it from you, but God is faithful.
Yeah. I love our dynamic today because you're very, very spiritual, and I'm very practical today. Yes, pray for your husband, pray for your wife, pray for your friends, pray for your business associates. Absolutely. But at the same time, do your part, right? Here's what I mean. If you think about the analogy of being yoked together, you have to be aware of your footing, right? I'm locked into this. I'm not going to just let you drag me. I'm not. I'm going to pull back. I'm going to pull away, and I'm going to let you know I don't like this. This isn't good. And I'm going to do my best to pull you towards, right decision making, pull you towards the right influences. If you're already locked in, right? So if you're in business together, I don't think you should go and blow up the business partnership. I think you should do some due diligence, and you should do your best
to influence,
and to right the relationship, right? To correct the relationship. I think it's worth, if the both of you thought it was worth being associated, whether it's professionally, whether it's entrepreneurially, whether it's romantically, marriage, family, if at some point there was a value in being associated together, don't just throw it away just because all of a sudden we have irreconcilable differences, right?
There's very few irreconcilable differences.
Well, then look, the only way you can say they were irreconcilable differences, honestly, is that you did everything you could to try to reconcile the differences, right? You cannot honestly say that they're irreconcilable differences if you didn't give it a try, right? If you just say, oh man, I don't like you, I quit. Well, then just say you quit. Don't say, oh, we couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
But I think it's worth the investment. I think it's worth you saying, no, look, I feel you pulling me that way. I'm not just going to give up and just let myself get dragged. I'm connected to this thing too. I'm going to pull this way. I'm going to pull us towards doing the right thing. I'm going to do my best to nudge you and influence you towards good relationships or good conversations that are going to challenge you, that are going to confront you. I'm going to bring you to places that are going to not just be an echo chamber for you. A couple of weeks ago, I had a conversation with an incredible man. And he's a father, he's a husband, he's a great leader in business, and I'm really grateful for him because he had the humility to take ownership that in the current connection, in the current situation with him and his wife, he's the one that needed to be nudged, right? And so she nudged him towards me, and we had a couple of great conversations. And since then, like here's the cool thing. Since then, he's begun a path of sobriety and has been influencing not just himself, but then professionally people around him. There's a ripple effect. And so guys and people that work for him have started making decisions because they see him making decisions and et cetera. And there's something that something special happens that when you're a person of influence, when you get locked into the right place, man, the right things happen for you, And so I think it's really, really cool that the reason he's seeing the dynamics change around him is because he allowed the person he was yoked to, the person he's latched on and attached to nudge him in a different direction and to pull him in a different direction
to
and
challenge him.
And he didn't fight it. He didn't, he had the honesty to allow himself to be confronted. And I think that's a really, really big deal, right? To have the humility and the honesty to let someone say, hey, you actually need to be nudged over here. I don't like where you're headed. I don't like where you're going right now.
Yeah. It does take humility in all aspects, in friendships and marriage relationships, dating relationships, business. It takes humility to say, you know what, I'm yoked with you and I really want us both going the same way and both of us pulling the same weight.
Correct.
Yeah, because that's, I guess, the whole point of being unequally yoked. Is when you're with somebody who isn't yoked with you, like, man, you're gonna get tired quick, and the other person's just gonna hate being dragged by you.
It's exhausting. So, I think if we can give you guys some handles on where to start, you can't say we are equally or unequally yoked until you have agreed upon values and agreed upon yoking.
Yeah.
Right. We both say this is what it is.
Yeah, that takes intentionality and conversation.
Yeah, and I think that's a really valuable conversation. You and I have done it several times over the course of our marriage.
Yeah, because it changes.
Absolutely. Right. But what do we value right now? What's important right now? What are we really going to be invested in? What are we going to pull together towards? Right. And if you've never had that kind of interaction, I think that's where you've got to start. And maybe this is why there's no agreement and all there is disagreement, because you guys are so annoyed at each other. And we're talking in the marriage context, but this could be business partners.
It can be dating,
what's
friendships.
What's wild, babe, is that recently I've gotten an opportunity to talk to a handful of business leaders. And it's crazy to me how people do business. And they'll jump into business based on, do we have the right amount of capital?
Right.
Right? And so they'll just, oh man, you got 50,000, I got 50,000. Let's go buy it, and then, but they never had a business plan, never had a prospectus, never had the partnership like lined up legally on paper. What did they do? They never wrote down this is what we value. This is our yoke right here. This is how we're attached together.
Yeah. And even further from that, like dig a little bit. Like, do they have a good personality? Like, do they cheat on their wives? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, for
all
sure.
that matters.
For sure. It's not just about about
got
financial
money?
capital.
Yeah.
It's human capital as well, right? Like character capital.
Exactly.
That's a great point, Diana.
Exactly.
Right? Because we could be quote unquote equally yoked financially, but completely disproportionately when it comes to character.
And your
And
value
you and I
system.
both know, and y'all know also, that no matter how much you're invested financially equally, it's character that counts. How many times have we heard the stories of great enterprises falling apart, not from a lack of capital or resource, but from a lack of character? And what happened? The people leading it were unequally yoked. Right? They were just not. Yeah,
they didn't do the due diligence.
That's very good. That's a great point. And so I think doing the due diligence, that's a great word, of sitting down and saying, what are we agreeing to do?
Yes.
I think this is why you're always disagreeable. Not you necessarily, but just at large. And, it's because we haven't set anything to agree to. Right. So we're always disagreeing because I see it one way, you see it one way, we're fighting with each other. I'm trying to get my way, you're trying to get your way, and we're going nowhere fast.
Yeah. Assumptions are just huge in relationships that way.
Major.
And I think a lot of times people don't have these conversations because they're afraid of the other person's reactions. They're afraid of like, oh man, that's just too much work. But again, anything worth investing in, anything worth having, anything yoking yourself to is worth the work of conversation.
100%. Nothing worth having ever comes easy. Ever.
Not even relationships.
No. I think it becomes
easier.
You get ease of use, but that's because you got your reps and you put in your time, man. But I think that's a big deal. I think that's a really, really great perspective. Like, I think if you've been disagreeable, if you've been annoyed with each other, if you've been like just pulling each other or dragging each other, then you got to stop and just say, hey, hold on. What are we agreeing to?
Yes.
How do we get in rhythm? How do we get in step? What's the pace we're going to march at? What's our cadence? What's our pattern? Right, left, or are we going right, left, right?
Right. And that requires maturity. Going back to like the beginning, does maturity matter? That requires
100%.
maturity. You cannot have these intentional conversations being yoked with your partner, whether it's friendships or marriage, if you aren't willing to be mature and have the
100%.
conversation.
100%. That's a big deal. So be mature, have the conversations,
Level up.
set the goals, set the pattern, set the cadence, make an agreement to walk together. And I think something really beautiful can happen.
Amen.
But it starts off with some humility, some consistency, do the work. I think it was
level up.
really simple conversation, but those simple principles will change the game for you. It did for us.
Yeah, it
right?
sure did.
So it's Friday today when we're recording. I'm going to go take the trash cans out because tomorrow morning is Saturday.
Yay.
And the trash
That's
man
like
comes on a
music
Saturday.
to my ears, and now I can fall asleep with ease and not wake up at 3 a.m. and be like, "Oh my God, did you take out the trash?" It's such an ugly
I know.
feeling.
Maybe we can be yoked together at 3 a.m. because I took the trash out.
Yeah.
Hello. I like it.
I'll be
I like
happy
it.
to.
I like it. Hey, hopefully this is helping you guys. We love you guys. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you for the encouragement, man. Y'all have been getting way more chatty in the comments and in the DMs, and so we're really grateful for you guys. So hopefully this helps you, just gives you some basic handles on how to approach those spaces of life where you're feeling like you're dragging each other. It shouldn't be that complicated. It shouldn't be that hard. It really is that simple. Buckle it down, have the talks,
Be mature.
set the pace, get it done, man.
Amen.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Go handle it in your living room. We love y'all. See you next time. Peace.